We're speaking with Antonio Swad, the man labeled by industry colleagues as a marketing genius because of his work with Pizza Patrón. He's one of the Food Channel pros, leaders with guts. Antonio, what really makes you happy?
You know, what a great question. For me, one of the things that makes me happy, and I think we all have this feeling of what we really want is acceptance. We want to be accepted somehow. And for me, when people come to one of our restaurants and they buy the food, and particularly if they line up for it, I look at that queue of people waiting to purchase some food that we produced. To me, I've been accepted, and that makes me happy.
How would you say that the Antonio Swad of today is different from the 10-year-old Antonio?
Well, I tell you, I don't know about the 10-year-old one, but as I've aged, I've learned a lot of things, and I've learned to value relationships with vendors, with people, with friends, to a lot greater degree. Relationships are more valuable than maybe the lowest price per pound on cheese or pepperoni, for example. And that's helpful to keep that in mind when you're trying to forge vendor relationships that are part of the business. One of the things that I had a little bit of a problem with when I was younger was, I'm going to call it over-intensity, and it was very difficult to work with. People had difficulty working with me. Because of that, I missed a lot of opportunities.
And what were some of the results of that?
Well, let me tell you one quick story. I had a great job at one time. Early in my career, I was a bartender at one of the highest volume, most successful nightclubs in Dallas. It was a very coveted job. You made a lot of money. It was very exciting. And I was really good at the job. And when you're really good at something, you feel good about yourself. One night after the shift was over, they called me into the office, and I was believing that I was going to win some kind of an award or something like that because I was doing such a great job. Remember, we all live in our mind. So in my mind, I was a superstar. And they called me into the office and they said, you know what? You're fired. And I couldn't believe it. And it was explained to me that I was fired because I made too many of the waitresses cry and I was too intense. And it was a lot easier to replace me as a bartender than keep hiring waitresses. It's funny, at the time I was shocked, but that created an opportunity that actually opened another door that allowed me to get another job and get that intimate knowledge of the pizza business that you need to be successful, and help me sit where I'm sitting today.
How did you deal with that when the intensity part of it? Is it something you actively tried to improve, or how did you work it out later on in your career?
I did actively try to improve it. I think the sooner and the quicker that you realize that you need to assemble a team around you to really achieve something great and something on a great scale, no one is capable of doing that solely by themselves. They're going to have to attract and motivate a great team of individuals. I work with the best team of people that I've ever been surrounded with in my life. That's the primary reason why I have such high expectations for our brand and for our company. I call them thoroughbred racehorses. Those types of individuals do not want to work every day with somebody like the person I used to be.
And how do you keep balance in your life so that it's not work 24/7?
Well, work isn't necessarily work. You know, work to me isn't something that I dread, or I don't look forward to going to the office and working, or going to spend a significant amount of time in the restaurants themselves. My work is almost like a sport to me, and I'm playing to win, just like some people are on a bowling league, or they like to golf or something like that. So I've never really had that problem where I have to balance my work because it's such drudgery and I dislike it so much that I have to do something fun to compensate. To me, the job is fun. I do have one other thing that I like to do is get on my bicycle. I'm a cyclist, and that allows me to think about what else? Think about my job and think about work. It's great time, and you get some exercise too. But I think work is not work for me, and that's a blessing.
What is your pet peeve in other people? What is something you just, when you see a certain trait in somebody, it's a big turnoff for you?
Well, I don't know. You know, I try to avoid people that drain energy, that take energy away from me. And there are some people that, you know, they will find the dark spot in the sky on the most perfectly sunny day. And I certainly don't want to be like that. Consequently, I don't want to work around people like that. And I want to keep everyone focused and pulling the same direction. So I mean, it's sort of a cliche to say negative people turn me off or whatever. But you know what? Negative people really do turn me off. We have to keep everything focused. We have to be positive and together. And if you can get everybody on that same wavelength, together you can achieve great things.
You know, after having covered the food service industry for so many years, it's pretty well accepted that the Hispanic community is the heart and soul of many, many restaurants across the United States. The work ethic is considered to be the highest among so many workers, and the spirit of life that those people possess, Hispanic community, is beautiful. How has that spilled over into your personal life, being so entrenched in the Hispanic community for this time? Has it changed you as a human being?
You know, that was one of the things that attracted me to focusing my pizza business, becoming Pizza Patron, and trying to focus on serving this community. I was raised in the Midwest. I was raised with an Italian mother and a Lebanese father. Their parents came to the U.S., and back in those days, you came to the U.S. and you wanted to fit in. And many times fitting in meant all the old traditions and all the things that you used to do, we're not going to do those anymore because we want to be Americans. And that's sort of how I was raised. I was raised in almost a cultural vacuum to some degree. When I moved to Texas and I got in the pizza business and I started to understand a little bit more about the Hispanic culture, and I saw that there was a real celebration, always a reason to celebrate, and there was a celebration going on all the time. I was attracted to that. I needed some of that. I think everybody needs that. Our new tagline for Pizza Patron is Latin life, enjoy. And what that means is take this moment, be present in this moment, and find a reason to celebrate it. Find a reason to be happy about this moment. Don't worry about tomorrow or the future necessarily, but try to enjoy your life today. Everybody can relate to that. So Latin life and joy really works well for us at Pizza Patron.
So Antonio, who have been some of the people that have influenced you the most in your lifetime?
Well, there's been several, but there's one guy that comes into mind, and it has to do with the restaurant business, but it's a short story, so I'm going to tell it to you. Hopefully you like it. I was 15 when I began my career in the restaurant business, and I was a dishwasher in a steakhouse in Columbus, Ohio. And the manager had an interesting name. His name was Orlis King, and he was one of these guys that ran the business by fear. Everyone was afraid of him. That was effective back then. It's not very effective today. And he was one of these guys that when he got angry, he had this one vein right here that would just pop in and out, in and out. So you could always tell when he was mad. I was sweeping out the stock room, and back in those days, salad dressing was in glass containers. I don't know if you remember that. It was before plastic was invented or something like that, but it was in these 1-gallon glass jars. And I was sweeping out the stock room, and I knocked over a stack of those, and this 1 glass gallon of dressing teetered for a moment, and then when it hit the floor, it sounded like a bomb went off. Everybody knew Mr. King was going to be very upset. I knew it was probably going to cost me my job. I was going to get fired. And sure enough, about a minute later, he come around the corner and he looked at the mess, and I had this dressing everywhere and just broken glass. I thought, okay, this wasn't a very long career, but here I go. He looked at me and he said, I'll never forget what he said. He looked and he said, if this restaurant was twice as busy, that would only cost us half as much. And I had no idea at the time what he was saying to me. It dawned on me long after that. He was giving me my first lesson about food cost. If this restaurant was twice as busy, that broken salad dressing would only cost us half as much. I've never forgotten that I was getting a life lesson about food costs, something that my whole career I'd be able to apply.
We're talking with Antonio Swad of Pizza Patron. Check out the next part of this series as we explore what it takes to be a leader with guts. For Food Channel Pro, I'm Ellen Codiff.